Whew, this week's episode of The Bachelorette, Season 18, week number 2 gave me all the feels. Do you like love and basketball? Well, I do, and so does Michelle. Stay tuned. Hi there, Simply Subbies. Welcome back to the Simply Stacy YouTube channel. It's your girl, Stacy, and I am here for another reality roundup. So this week, we are talking Bachelorette, Season 18, week number 2. So I loved everything about this episode. Okay, let me take that back. I loved mostly everything about this episode, but we'll get to the part that I did not like. Just stay tuned. Guys, really quickly before we get started, you guys have seen I have been having some of my merch in my setup. So here is the Simply Living My Best Life mug. And this is the Simply List journal. It is so nice. It's a hardcover journal with the Simply Stacy merch logo on the back. And then just the Simply List, Simply Chic, Savvy, Magic, Living, Social, Service, Growing, Surviving, and Successful. This, along with a lot of other stuff and my upcoming fall favorites that just hit the site yesterday, are on my Simply Stacy store. That is stacyhuddleston.com/shop. Again, that is stacyhuddleston.com/shop. It will be in the description box below, and it will probably be on your screen as well. So just for that, if you guys are looking to help support a sister, you can subscribe to my channel, you can like, you can comment down below, and also you might find some nice motivational things for you there. So Simply, what Simply stands for, you guys know that I spell Simply with an I, kind of like Stacy with an I, but it is simply inspiring and motivating people to live intentionally. That is what the acronym stands for. And so that is the Simply brand. And I appreciate all of my Simply subscribers here on the Simply Stacy YouTube channel. But let's get right to it. Okay, so we are down to 23 guys. Michelle got rid of a lot of guys last week. I don't know who they are. You know, no one really remembers the guys who were eliminated on night 1. Except for Ryan. That guy was the one who had this whole little script on how he wasn't going to become the villain while doing everything wrong by getting caught with the red folder that said Bachelorette playbook and getting cast as the villain, basically. So we know he'll be on Paradise sometime in the near future trying to redeem himself. Okay, Thomas did it. Why can't he? Thomas is in love now, and he was like the biggest villain on Katie Thurston's season. Speaking of which, did you guys hear that her and Blake have broke up and called it quits? They did a joint separate on their socials saying, you know, we've chose to go our separate ways. And I'm just like, wow, I really thought they would be good together. I knew that they were like a lot of distance. He's from Canada. He was doing something in Africa, you know. Dang, another one bites the dust. Anyway, let's get back to this season. Okay, so we have the 23 guys. It looks like they're actually moving in because you know they're always on some type of a resort since they're no longer in the California mansion during COVID. Again, Claire and Tayshia got the short end of the stick with that La Quinta Inn. Honey, everybody else's has been amazing. It looks like they're in this big place. But I don't know. Maybe that's just like where they meet up. I don't know if it's an Airbnb because then when they pan out, it does look like it's a resort. So I'm a little bit confused. They're probably still in rooms, but they're not at the rooms they were in when Tayshia and Caitlyn went in snooping around their individual rooms. I think they were still probably quarantining at that point. But now they've moved into some resemblance of a house where they're all kinds of together. Okay, so first up, there's a little bit of girl time with Tayshia. Her and Michelle are in the bed. I actually kind of enjoyed these moments between the Bachelorettes and the Bachelorettes of past because they have a lot of insight. They actually know exactly what they're going through. And, you know, I just love to see it, all the black girl magic in the bed. Okay, so first up is date number 1. There is Brandon, Romeo, Rick, PJ, Will, Olu, Casey, Daniel, LT, Peter. Yeah, and they're all going to be doing date number 1. It is a group date. And it says, today's lesson in love, partnership. Heart, Michelle. So basically they're like, okay, we know that Michelle is a school teacher. When they show up, there is a school situation. There is a school setting, a school room, schoolhouse. They are sitting, in the little desk that people sit in. And Michelle says, hey, I have 3 friends that I want to introduce you guys to. And they're like, okay, we're going to meet her friends. We got to try to impress them. Honey, it is 3 5th graders. Have you guys heard of that show? Are you smarter than a 5th grader? Because I'm going to venture to say I might not be. I might be smarter than let me take that back. I'm probably smarter than a 5th grader. However, probably not in their 5th grade studies. Whatever the heck they be going through in the 5th grade, maybe geography and all that stuff, I may not have them beat. But like in life, I'm definitely smarter than a 5th grader. Like in life, and things that like actually matter, and like adulting, and in like general, but like in them 5th grade schoolhouse subjects, yeah, no, I'm probably not gonna be the 5th grader, because guess what? They're currently learning that stuff. I learned it for the 5th grade, and then I let that stuff go. Brain dump right after the bell rings for summer vacation. Y'all comment down below. Let me know if y'all think y'all smarter than 5th graders. I never really watched the show. I watched it here and there. But let me know. Y'all think y'all can be the 5th grader? I might got 1 or 2 that I could test it with. That would be an interesting show. Too bad I don't live near any of my little cousins. However, I might have y'all at a holiday season, because I know a few high schoolers, 5th graders, something like that. Okay, back to this episode. So anyway, these men are going up against 3 little children, honey, to see if they are smarter than them. And Michelle is in her role. She is in her element as the teacher. So first of all, the first subject up is math. Romeo majored in math at Harvard University. Hello, Romeo. Can I cheat off of your paper? Because, you won't get all the answers right. Which he did. And it was so funny because I think there was a Harvard grad on Tayshia's season. And he was so obnoxious with it. He was boastful and braggy, and then he wasn't even winning the little competition. But Romeo is so mild-mannered. He just answering the questions right. He ain't even talking about this Harvard degree he got, even though he know he got it. He just sitting here doing his job. And I was like, you know what? I appreciate you, Romeo. I respect that. I really do. Okay, next up is science. And it's so crazy because they're all putting all these chemicals in there, and then it's like this big, huge explosion or volcano erupting. Everybody but Peter wins now. It's becoming, listen, it's a mess. His didn't do nothing. He just shook it up, spun it around. It's just not doing what it's supposed to do. Everybody else got theirs. It took some people a little bit longer. I believe Romeo might have been the first in that too. So math and science are his things. So now a lot of the guys, especially Casey, is talking about Peter, and he's just being over the top, and he keeps trying to get her attention, and, calling her Michelle, come help me with this. And the students are like, leave her alone. Just do what you're here to do, sir. But he's trying to stand out, and not stand out in a I'm getting the right answers type of way, but I want to stand out for being maybe the class clown, or just a little bit over the top, right? Next up, after the science, there is musical chairs. And Peter is being super aggressive, knocking people out of the chairs and loud and snatching chairs away from people. And so it's like, okay, Peter, are you in the 5th grade? Because, sir, that's not attractive. Basically, Michelle says you can learn a lot about a person by how they play musical chairs, and it's not always a good thing. And I think she was talking about Peter. Everybody else, they did what they did. They sat or stood or got out when they were losing. But Peter, he just took it to another level. He still didn't end up winning, even though he tried to snatch the chair out of the last guy who did win that. Next up was Spelling. And poor Brandon. Guys, Brandon can't spell worth a lick. Everybody noticed it. Michelle noticed it. The little fifth graders noticed it. But he was just still so calm. He wasn't being obnoxious. He wasn't making a scene or making light of the fact that he couldn't spell. But it was all in good fun with him, And again, Peter's doing the Peter thing. Spell entrepreneur. He's a piecepreneur. And he was just doing some things. And I guess it could have been funny, but I'm sure it was probably annoying to the guys that were actually there. But how the editing team put it together, it was definitely annoying. And he would have definitely annoyed the mess out of me. But hey, it's not me. It was Michelle. Anyway, the next word is narcissist. And so Will was like, Peter is doing the most. He's doing too much. And I'm going to call him out. Like, other people not calling him out. Because Casey was talking shit about him too behind his back. Or at least to the confessional part. But Will was like, I'm going to call him out. So when they said spell narcissist, Will writes the word Peter. So Peter is fuming. He's so mad. Like, why would you call me a narcissist in front of Michelle? Like, instead of taking it lighthearted, like a joke, like, whatever, dude, you don't even know me. Like, I feel like he took it a little bit too far. But I still think I get where he's coming from. Like, okay, of all the people, you want to make me look bad in front of Michelle. Like, that's a jerk move. But if he would have played it right, maybe Will would have come across as the jerk, and not Peter. But how Peter took it, it just was like, okay. It just wasn't what it was. Everybody kind of laughed and then moved on. Okay, so there's part 1 of the day and then there's part 2. So they did the classroom session and then they actually had the date session where they all, get a chance to have one-on-one at the, kind of a meet and greet mixer with Michelle. And so the first person that comes up is Brandon. She was like, there's something I want to talk to you about. He was like, I know about my spelling. And she was like, yeah, her mom, she's like, in a confessional, he's not a great speller, but hopefully he's a great kisser or whatever. Basically, she said, he told her that he's always going to try to learn his lessons for her. And he was staring into her eyes and he said some little line to her. Like, she's like, well, what is it? You want to say something because you just keep looking? He's like, no, I'm just trying to memorize you. And so that when I dream about you later, I'll have it all right. And she's like, oh, that was terrible. Like, that was so corny. I was like, oh, I actually thought it was kind of cute. But she said it was corny. They laughed about it. It was very lighthearted. Yeah, she was like, oh, then they kissed. And then she was like, okay. The sparks were flying. He might not be a good speller, but he got this spark going or whatnot. She had on this little blue dress. It was cute. It was a mini dress. Okay, next up, she talks to Romeo. He's the Harvard mathematician. Romeo tells Michelle, like when he's with her, it makes him forget about all the other guys. And she's like, okay, that's kind of cool. Then there's Peter, and he confronts Will off to the side. So Michelle is having a conversation. I can't remember who she's having a conversation with, but it is so loud, the conversation between Will and Peter. Now, Will called Peter the narcissist in the spelling bee. And Peter is on 10. Like, he is coming for Will. You shouldn't call me like this. And I'm like, there's a way to go about it. And Peter did not handle it well. He was like fuming and so mad. And all the other guys are sitting around like, looks kind of heated over there. It doesn't look like they're having a conversation to talk about. It looks like they're kind of arguing. And Will's getting louder. And it's just a mess. And I'm like, it's a way to come and say, partner, I didn't think that was cool, bro. Like, you could have just not done that. But all right, I see what you did there. I don't like it. And moved on. But Peter was so loud and basically like them almost fighting words and all this stuff. And I was like, this is dramatic. Michelle, what I will say about her, other than the other guys or other leads, they would leave wherever they were to go and see what's going on. She did not. So she gave whoever she was with their time, even though it was being interrupted, and she overheard everything that was going on. Okay, so we're back at the house, and the second date card actually arrives. And it says, Jamie, I'm looking for someone to be my rock. ... Love, Michelle. One-on-one date. First one-on-one date goes to Jamie. Now you know that Nate was looking forward to that because normally the guy who gets the first impression rose gets the first date. But I feel like Michelle was like, well, I already know I like Nate. Let me check out Jamie and see if I can like him too. So he gets the one-on-one card. And I forget what he says, but it's something like, well, I'm glad about this one-on-one date because, it's not just about if she likes me. I need to see if I can, like her too and see her in my life. And so some of the guys is like, I feel like he being real ungrateful about this one-on-one date. I don't know if I actually got ungrateful. But yeah, that's not normally what people say when they get the first one-on-one date. But hey, to each his own. Okay, so Rick comes up and she was like, basically, Rick, I need you to do your homework. He was the one who came in the apple suit. He said it was a Granny Smith apple. It was a red apple. She was like, Granny Smiths are green. And so she has this thing where she sets it up and they're just like all these different apples and she blindfolds him and lets him taste it. He gets them all wrong, basically. He's like, oh, yep, that's definitely a Granny Smith. It's a red apple. Oh, the Granny Smith. Oh, there's definitely a Fuji apple. She's like, oh my God, you need to do better. And then she gives him like a piece of pizza. And he's like, what is this? I don't know. I like this. Is this pizza or whatever? Oh, he said lasagna. He didn't get the pizza right. And then the last thing she gives him was a kiss with his blindfold on. They kiss. He likes the kiss. And he was like, oh, can I take this off? It was really cute. Smooth operator. Okay, Michelle. And she set that up. So I thought it was really cute. So next up was Peter. So she actually talks to Peter. She was like, you know what? I was out here talking to the guys and I heard some elevation in tones and it just sounded like you were being very aggressive in your conversation with Will. So she actually listened and heard what was happening and that was exactly what was happening. And she was, when I say she was in full-on teacher mode, like she was like, yes. And so how you react to something, I think it was probably a bit over the top. You shouldn't, it didn't take all that. I don't personally know where you're coming from, where you felt some kind of way about him calling you the narcissist. It probably wasn't fun and just, but how you handled it or how you behaved, And so he goes ahead and apologizes for her. And she basically was like, so why don't you go ahead, get yourself together, and I'll talk about you later when I can see a different side of you. He's like, that was out of my character and all this stuff. I was like, oh, she was full on teacher in that moment. Okay, Michelle, I see how you get these fifth graders together. Peter, talking to you. There's the first group date rose, and Michelle picks it up. She's sitting with all the guys, and she gives it to Brandon, the worst speller of the bunch. So there again, it does not matter if you win the challenge. You can still get the first date group rose. And shout out to Brandon. But she had a good time with him when they sat down to talk, and she liked that he didn't take things too seriously and that, they had a really good time. He's a traveling nurse recruiter, and he is from Portland, Oregon. He had a good time. So next up, we're Jamie. We're on the one-on-one date. So Jamie's date is rock climbing, but not the kind you do inside. It is a legit, I'm like, is that Mount Everest? Okay, no, it didn't look like Mount Everest, but it was definitely a mountain. And it was like all brown out there and, just dusty. And they were climbing. And I was like, okay, cool. And so she's climbing and Jamie's like telling her where to go, where to put her hands next. She's like, oh, you seem like you've done this before. She said she appreciated that he was very encouraging because in a lot of her past relationships, she has been the encourager and it was very refreshing. So I was like, okay, Jamie, this is off to a good start. They finally get to the top because, it ain't really much going on as they're going up on a romantic front. But it's this nice, lovely view. And they're having a really good time. She said that she learned a lot about him. She told him that she liked that he wasn't a complainer. Because you could have those people that's like, oh my God, I can't do this. But he was just very positive and encouraging. And she really did like that. So now we're on to the dinner part of the date. So they're in the dinner part, and basically, Jamie says that he learned a lesson during this date that, everything can be an adventure, even going to just the grocery store. She's like, I think I can see me going to the grocery store with you or whatever. And she was saying that she's grateful. Oh, I think he said something about her family. And she said that she is grateful for the family that she has, but she does know that that is a blessing and not everybody's family structure is the same. And she doesn't think that it has to be in order for you to eventually become a part of a, a thriving, good family. And so Jamie says, well, I'm glad you said that because my mom had me at 18. She had a lot of mental health issues when we were younger. I think he said something like our car got repossessed. We ended up moving in with my grandmother when I was like 12 years old. And I think around that time, he said that was the first time he saw his mom with like this knife trying to slit her wrist. And so like she just really was kind of battling mental health struggles. And so he said it was very rough for him in school. Like, a lot of times he missed a lot of days of school, and then he got to be like a senior, and it was like, well, if you don't come to school, you can't graduate. So he had to be sitting there, but thinking about like, is this the day my mom is going to like successfully complete suicide or commit suicide and all that stuff. He said by the time he was 24, she actually committed suicide. And so that's just a lot for him to grow up with, and it's a lot for him to take on. And Michelle was so empathetic in the moment, like she was tearing up and crying. And it's just something really, really, really rough. I mean, how can you even address it? But Michelle did a really good job. She basically told him that, she loves how he navigated things in his life, and that it's made him into the person that he is. And she showed a lot of empathy. Jamie says she showed a lot of empathy in her tears and in her words, and he appreciates that she did not say, I'm sorry. He says a lot of times people just start with that because they don't know what else to say. And I know I've been guilty of that too, because I'm like, damn, I'm just so sorry to hear that. But how he said it wasn't how I intended, but how he says it comes across is, I'm sorry that happened to you, but for him it's like, well, it happened to me and it made me who I am. And had it not happened, I may not be the man that I am today. So I guess he's just taking it in stride. And I mean, it's very unfortunate, but I know when people say I'm sorry, I don't think they mean, I think they do maybe mean I'm sorry that happened to you, because who wants something like that to happen to them? But I can see where he's coming from, and now I may choose my words when trying to comfort someone or show that I'm being empathetic about their situation. But yes, they had a good date. She says, you know what, Jamie, you showed me today that you can be my rock. I hope I can be your rock too, and I appreciate your vulnerability. And so will you accept this rose? They kiss. Then there's part 3 of the date. They go outside, and there is Caroline Jones, I believe, and she is singing He's Chasing Me. They have a live performance, basically. She is a singer, and she is singing He's Chasing Me, and they're dancing, and they're kissing, and they're having a good time. First date, Michelle did say this is like one of the best first dates she's ever had. And yeah. So next up, Joe from Minnesota. He is on a call with his mom, and he finds out that one of his, I don't know if it was high school or college, but one of his former basketball coaches passed away. He is very emotional. He's sad. He says that, I don't know, but if you play basketball or you play a sport, coaches become part of your family. Like, they encourage you, they motivate you, you look up to them, and it's really emotional for him. But he's also about to go on this date. So now, I don't remember when this group date card came in, but the group date is actually to play basketball. And Joe is actually on that date. So he's like, dang, I got to go play ball when I'm dealing with this, but I'm going to go ahead. I think that's what my coach would want me to do. Just put it all out there on the court. So he goes ahead to the date. They're all out there, and she says, I want to introduce you guys to 2 of my friends. And this time they are WNBA professional women basketball players. So there is Aderica Hamby. She plays for the Aces. And then Diamond DeShields, who plays for the Sky. Shout out to the Chicago Sky, who just won the championship, I believe, last week or the week before. And yeah, they're pro NBA players. WNBA players, that is. And so the guys are like, oh, this is super cool. And Michelle lets us know, which I think we knew from Matt James' season, but that she played D1 basketball in college. So she is a baller, and this is what she does. They start off with a little bit of drills. Nate's out there. Joe scores. You know, they out here doing their thing in the element. Michelle says Joe is in his element. And then she says, I don't know if they know this about him, but he's from Minnesota. She's from Minnesota. She's like, but in 2011, Joe was titled Mr. Basketball Minnesota, and that is a big deal. She was like, and I was 2011 Miss Basketball runner-up. She's like, she didn't win, but he actually won that year. And she was like, it just means that you're the best high school player that there is in the state of Minnesota, and Joe actually won that. And I'm like, okay, she can know this without knowing him, just because she was in the same area, same town. She was in basketball, so she would know people, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, maybe that's why she slid into his DMs. So anyway, because I'm like, Michelle, now how would they know that? They wouldn't know that. But anyway, she's saying Joe is in his element. It's good to see. So they do one-on-one next. So people are playing one-on-one with one another. Joe's out here killing it. And then he plays Michelle. And it was so cute. I'm like, they don't even think nobody else is out here on the court. Because it was just like, he wasn't holding back. He was putting a D on her. She was putting a D on him. They were, they were having a good time. Now, he did... No, she's like, you gonna guard me, she shoots her three, she makes it. So it was just real cute. And I was just like, Love and Basketball is one of my favorite movies. I don't know if y'all know. But listen, Sanaa Lathan and Omar Epps in that movie, honey. That was Joe and Michelle on the court. And I know other people would probably feel uncomfortable because it was literally just about them. But anyway, it was cute. Then they was like, okay, it's game time. 5-on-5. So they got one team and they got another team. A blue team and a red team. Joe's on the red team. The blue team looked kind of stacked. They was out here killing it, just like winning. The red team looked like they hadn't played basketball before. Other than maybe Joe. So anyway, the blue team like, ain't no way we gonna lose. They like, somebody I think was like, we may as well just call it quits. The blue team is up. They was like, let's have a timeout. Michelle, she the coach, I guess. So she go talk to the red team. Like, y'all got this, Mr. Basketball. And she, like, pushes Joe's shoulder. Like, I know you got this, Mr. Basketball, right? So she used her little inside knowledge, knowing he was Mr. Basketball 2011 in Minnesota. And I don't think everybody else caught on to what that was all about. When I say Joe comes out the gate just knocking out shots, hitting, like, three-pointer, two-pointer, three-pointer, two-pointer. They finished the game within 1 point of the blue team. And I think it was at least a 10-point lead. But Joe came back. He came through. He was going to show Michelle, yeah, you're right. I am Mr. Basketball. And this is why. So everybody else like, Joe did his thing. So basically, the winners got to go on the mixer with Michelle, or to the after party as they called it. And then the losers, the red team, had to go home. However, the WNBA players said, you know what? We have the MVP of the game. Now, we all know that the MVP typically is the player on the winning team that did the best. However, they named Joe the Mr. MVP, Mr. Basketball from the red team that got them from losing to 1 point of losing, instead of almost winning. And so he gets to go to the after party. So the red team was a little bit like, dang, he gets to go. He didn't even win. The blue team is still the same way. But either way, they still happy because they all get to go. Joe's excited like, shoot, I lost, but I still get to go to the party. Which he does. And I was like, he was the MVP. He scored the most out of both teams, regardless of who won. So it is what it is. And Michelle does what she wants to do. So I'm like, okay, cool. This will give them time to chat about him ghosting her when she DM'd him. Because, we don't really have that story yet. Okay, so they're at the after party and the first person that she pulls is Joe. So she talks to Joe and he shares his news with her. Like, thank you for bringing me on this day. I just wanted you to know that I did hear today that my coach passed away. And, it was something that I did. I was like, I was going to put it all out here on the court. So I'm like, I wonder kind of if that was why he wasn't boastful and why he was more just subdued on the court, like in the initial parts, instead of just showing out and stuff. Because he was probably just dealing with the fact that, he had heard that bad news earlier and being on the court and thinking about his coach. And she was like, you know what, being a ball player, I understand. She's like, I don't know if it's us being from Minnesota, if it's us both playing basketball, but she feels really connected to Joe. And he's like, she's like, you really don't have to feel composed around me. she's like, I know how we are with basketball. Like, we always got our game face on. You don't have to do that. And he was like, yeah, you're right. They kissed. And I'm like, oh, I am shipping them. I am so shipping them. I love Joe. He's my favorite. He's the best looking guy, I think, on the show. Him and then maybe Nate is a close second. But yes, so I'm like, okay, Joe. And I just really like them. I like that vibe. I love it. It gave me Loving Basketball 2.0. It gave me Sanaa and Omar Epps. It just gave me all the feels. Okay, so it was real cute. Then they go outside and they playing a little one-on-one outside. She got her gown on. They playing. She kicked her shoes off. And so the guys are like, dang, Joe and he's supposed to be on our date. They've been gone for a long time. Basically, when I say they be forgetting anybody else is there, it is all about Michelle finding Joe. Joe finding Michelle. That's all this is. Forget the Bachelorette and all these other eliminations. Okay, so basically, people are just kind of talking since he ain't around. Like, I can't believe he loses. He's not an MVP. Who does that? Because the losers actually go back to the house or to the common area. And they telling them, like, where Joe? Ain't we missing somebody? Yeah, ain't 5 of y'all. It's only 4. And they like, oh, yeah, Joe got MVP and he went over there. So then Jamie is there. Remember, he went on the date. He starts stirring the pot, talking about, yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about that. You know, they both from Minnesota. Some other guys, you could tell people must have started asking them questions because they was like, well, I mean, yeah, they are from Minnesota, but, you know, I'm just worried about me. Like, it was like when people asked them or when prompted, they still was like, well, I mean, I ain't got no concerns about it, but Joe's name started coming up because it was being planted. She's talking to Spencer. Spencer says he has a 3-year-old child. She talks to Nate, who was her first impression rose. He basically was like, he cool because, like, he already know they got a connection. And he not really concerned about Joe. Because, you know, this is just becoming a topic now. He was like, you know, I'm just going to do what I do. I'm going to just be me. She likes me. I already know that. Okay, there's the date rose. And, of course, Michelle gives it to Joe. Because, I mean, like, why wouldn't she get it to Joe? Now, mind you, again, the underdogs winning this season. Brandon was the worst speller of all time. He got the rose on that date. On this group date, Joe wasn't even supposed to be there, and he got it. And I think what they don't know is, like, during their conversation, she probably was like, you know what? He put his loss of, like, a family member, i.e. his coach, to the side to come out and still support me. He didn't leave. He didn't go home. He didn't let that ruin the date. He opened up to me, and honestly, we just have, like, chemistry off the charts. I apparently was attracted to him before. That's why I slid in his DM and all of that. So now, I don't even think they got into that again. She had that conversation with him on night 1. She decided to keep him and move forward. And they didn't even talk about this whole ghosting situation no more. Joe gets the rose and everybody's like, you know what? He's like a silent assassin. But they said that on the court too. Because like he just came out and started winning shit. Knocking out 3-pointers, 2-pointers, getting all the baskets, getting all the points on the court. And they was like, dang, Joe like the silent assassin. Because like I said, he wasn't boastful. He wasn't braggy. He was just doing what he does in his element. Like Michelle said, that's just what it looked like. And so that's like, he really is the silent assassin. Because nobody was even suspecting him of being, you know, whatever. And he gets the group day rose. So they're all at the cocktail party. So everybody is there. Brandon, Joe, and Jamie are talking now. Jamie is the one who got the one-on-one date and he got the rose. And he's talking to them and he's basically like, yeah, you know, what y'all thinking about Joe? You know, they both from Minnesota and whatnot. And all the other guys are just kind of like, I mean, I guess maybe they know each other. Y'all think they know each other? Like, they're like trying to ask, but Jamie is the one you can tell that is planting this information. Let me pause. Pause the moment for Michelle's fashion sense. Because, honey, she is killing it. She is looking so gorgeous, per usual. Okay, we can go back to it. So she's talking to, this is when she talks to Rodney and does the apple test. I forgot. I mentioned it earlier. That did not take place on that date. That actually took place on this cocktail hour. That was a guy, Rick, that she was just talking to and they kissed and made out. But this isn't Rick. Sorry. I said Rodney back then. It was Rick. Rodney is the guy who was the granny apple, and she did all that, and then she ends up kissing him, and they have a good little conversation, or a little one-on-one action that she put together. Then there's Martin, and Martin asks, what's up with Joe? And Jamie says, you know what? I actually heard that, well, I do have a problem with it. Well, while the other guys were like, I don't have no problem with it. He was like, well, I do have a problem with it because I heard from a friend who lives in Minnesota that they were out and they walked out and Michelle, this beautiful woman, walked out and it was Michelle. And when they got back to the table, their girlfriend was like, oh yeah, that's Michelle. She's the Bachelorette. And it was like, she already involved with a light-skinned ball player, a tall, light-skinned ball player. So I'm like, Jamie, first of all, just because they said it does not make it true. Second of all, heck, how do they even know that? And light-skinned ball player does not mean Joe. But he just made it be Joe because Joe is light-skinned and he's a ball player who made MVP. But I'm like, first of all, she is a ball player, meaning she can hang out with all ball players. Now, I know this is a different audience from my Put a Ring on It audience. But if y'all my audience, y'all just my audience. So the people from Put a Ring on It, y'all know that we had a WNBA, well, not WNBA, but she was a professional women's basketball player overseas. And she is always posted with ball players. Like, everybody on her timeline is tall ball players. So they could just be friends. Like, if you run in that crowd, if that is your sport, your game, your income, your job, then that is who you hang out with. So just because somebody's seen her with him does not mean that that is who she's dating. And it doesn't mean that it's Joe. But he started putting these rumors out in the atmosphere, talking to all the guys, basically. So it's not like all the guys are talking. It's like Jamie is talking. So basically, the guy was like, I mean, I don't think the guy thought one thing or another out of it. But I'm like, what is going on here? So then Jamie goes and pulls Michelle. And he's like, you know, I don't have a problem with it, but I just wanted you to know that the guys are out here. Basically lies to her face. I don't have a problem with it. Well, you're the main one who said you had a problem with it. 2, the guys are out here talking about like how they think you might have known Joe and how they can't trust you and all this stuff. And I'm like, Jamie, that is you. You the one with the tea, supposedly spreading the rumors. And you're talking to everybody, which makes it seem like now everybody's talking about it, but they wouldn't have even mentioned it had you not started the conversation. So Michelle is like taking aback. She's like, thanks for telling me. But she don't know who to trust now. She's like, because if they can't believe me, he's like, you wanted us to all be transparent and all this stuff. And so now the guys are thinking that they can't be that with you. And she's like, you know what? I need a minute. I'm going to address it, but I got to figure out how I'm going to address it. Because she's feeling away now. She's like, I don't know who I can trust. I think I'm falling for these guys. It makes me want to put my walls back up. Like, I've let them down for them. And this is a bit much. Jamie takes his butt on there, saunters back in there, don't say nothing, don't say a word, nothing. Tasha comes up, talks to Michelle. You know, they talk about what's happening. She's like, I mean, I got to address it, but it is not true. Like, whatever it is they saying is not even true. That's the whole thing. She was like, I met all of them on the same day. I never met Joe before. So I'm like, okay, we're going to really get the tea now. So basically, she gets out there. She tells all the guys to sit down. She's like, listen, I met all of you on night 1. I had not met anyone before that. Joe and I are both from Minnesota. She said that we exchanged 2 messages and he ghosted me. She said we can laugh about it now, but that's it. And basically, like, don't call me out. Don't be out here spreading rumors because all of it is lies. She said the one thing that really gets under her skin is because she is a woman of color from Minnesota. It's not very many. Anytime she is out with a man of color, they are shipping them. They are saying that they're dating, and it's not even the case. It could be one of her colleagues. It could be just a friend. It could be a cousin for all we know. We don't know who this light-skinned tall man was who supposedly played ball. But she said that's a problem for her because she is open to all of them and all of their nationalities and races and cultures, whereas how they make it seem is it's only the black men that she is into because she's already hooked up with this light-skinned ball player. She says she's out with a white person, a white man, nobody says anything. But when it's another man of color, it's always she's dating him. And so everybody is like kind of dumbfounded. She's like, because all y'all talking about it and it makes me want to put my walls back up. And they're like, what? Nobody's even talking about it. So she's like, so since everybody's talking about it, let's go ahead and say it. What do y'all have to say? Nobody is saying anything because literally nobody has anything to say but Jamie. And Jamie is being a damn coward and he ain't saying nothing. So I'm like, this it's too much. So basically, she's like, well, it should not be quiet because I'm asking y'all something and y'all doing all this talking. But okay, I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to give y'all a break. So she leaves. And then that's when people start talking. Like, Rodney was like, did I miss something? Because, like, did I miss every conversation? Because I've never had conversations about Joe. And I've never even heard conversations about Joe. And everybody's like, well, why don't y'all just fess up whoever said it? Because basically now she don't trust none of us. And Jamie's like, just sitting there looking foolish. They like, he ain't gonna say nothing. He's like, I'm not gonna say nothing. Sir, I really do not like your character right now. I really do not like you, and I want you to go home tomorrow. I was okay feeling you for a little bit, but now, sir, no. This is coward-ish. You could have said, well, I've had a few conversations, and, you know, my friend did say something to me, so I did bring it to her attention, and maybe she took it wrong. Like, even if you were going to lie about that part, but to just not say anything, like Michelle won't eventually maybe say something, or it won't come out. Like, what? He says nothing. Even when he's talking to other people, they was like, well, maybe it was just something she heard. And he's like, yeah, exactly. Knowing he specifically went and told her that to her face. And I'm surprised ain't nobody noticed that that was the last person she had talked to before she came and talked to them. But they weren't paying attention. So Rick wants to tell her to trust him. And Tasha and Kayla come and basically tell all of them, you know, like, she's emotional right now. She feels like she don't know who trusts her. Y'all questioning her character. And basically, she's not going to even have a cocktail party. She just going to have the rose ceremony. So that's pissing me off. Like, dude, I didn't get a chance to talk to her this week. Or I didn't get a chance to have a one-on-one time with her. Or I just wanted to talk to her just a little bit more so she can get to know me and I can get to know her. And y'all playing. And it's Jamie. And they don't even know. So basically, he is the Carl of Katie Thurston season. I feel like, but worse. I don't know. I don't like it. Because she really feeling Jamie. Okay, so next up, it is the rose ceremony. And basically, she's like, listen, I don't even want to get into this no more. I am trying hard to keep my walls down for you guys. But just know, when you're accepting this rose tonight, you are also accepting that you trust me. And we're not having this conversation no more. So, safe is a Nate, Martin, Rick, Leroy, Spencer, Casey, Chris G. I was like, Malik? It's Malik, but it's spelled Mollique. I was like, I don't know what that was till she said his name. Malik, Olu, Chris S., we're 11, Will, Romeo, LT, Clayton, and Peter. Guys, that is all the guys that are safe. Joe already has a rose, Jamie already has a rose, and Brandon already has a rose. So those are the guys that are left. I enjoyed this episode, guys. It may have been my favorite. I know it's only the second one, but we'll see how this plays out. I can't wait for Jamie to get called out because that's a whole mess. And I can't wait to see her and Joe. We saw some previews, her and Joe, her and Nate, her and other people. So, yeah, it's going to be a good season. I really think so. If you guys are not tuning in, tune into my girl, Michelle. She is not playing with these guys. She keeps it 100, and I love it. She has some nice guys, and I think she will actually find love on this show. Again, don't forget to check out the Simply Stacey store. That is staceyhuddleston.com/shop. Also, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell, hit the like bell, and comment down below. Subscribing is free. It doesn't cost you a thing. It definitely helps me out, and I'm trying to get 1,000 subscribers. I need your help. Share my videos. And come back and see me. Until next time, see ya.